Well, yesterday's inauguration of Donald Trump featured quite a guest list. America's biggest tech CEOs, also known as the richest men in the world, had pride of place at the ceremony. There was Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. They were joined by Shouzi Chu, the CEO of TikTok, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google. So what does all of that mean for tech companies that run the virtual world, not only to be attending the inauguration, but also to be donating millions of dollars to the inaugural fund? Well, for more on that, we're joined by two guests this morning. Jovian Radeshwar is a professor of international relations and American politics at Douglas College. He's with us this morning. Good morning to you, Jovian.
Morning, Stephen. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And Chris Krug is with us in studio. He's a digital strategist and the founder of Future Proof Creatives. You know him as a regular AI guy on our program. Good morning to you, Chris.
Good morning, Stephen.
Very nice to see you.
Thanks.
Chris, I'll go to you first. In December, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, "Everybody wants to be my friend." Is that what we're seeing here? A bunch of friends just celebrating together? Or do you think there might be some commercial motive behind this?
Yeah, I'm sure he would like to frame it that way, but I think that they're there for their own self-interest. I mean, for the last few years, Trump's been coming right at those people. He's been saying over and over again that Mark Zuckerberg should be locked up, and for a long time, he's tried to break up some of these companies and regulate them in different ways, and the whole content moderation thing during the Russia election scandal stuff. I mean, he's been right at their throat for a long time. So this whole cozying up and bending the knee represents a whole new paradigm of relationship between them, and I'm not super positive about it. I think that it represents probably a consolidation of power and a working hand in hand of government and these big tech corporations, and I really, question what that means for all of us.
Yeah, Jovian, for you, what do you think? Why do you think they wanted to be at the inauguration in particular?
I agree with Chris's comments just now, and I would just add to that this round of consolidation is something that should be expected because big tech, data processing, artificial intelligence, these represent the next frontier of capital accumulation. There's a lot of extra capital in the world right now. The world economy is around $175 to $200 trillion yearly. That sounds like a big number, but the actual money supply is up over $3 quadrillion. So that's 1,000 times more money that's out there, right? And that's money that needs to be located somewhere, needs to be sent somewhere so that it can be profitable, so it can make a return on capital. And of course, that's what tech represents. And the fact that tech is such a central element of our modern economy, and the fact that they're at this inauguration in such a strong way, I think shows, that they are very much consolidating. I would just add that there's a great article from The Guardian from the year 2020, Naomi Klein, BC's own, How Big Tech Plans to Profit from the Pandemic. And the article is all about how big tech wants to instantiate itself in every area of our lives in order to make those sales, but then also the digital information that's embedded in that will also itself be a driver of economic accumulation.
But have we not already been seeing that, though, over the past several years, Jovian?
Yes, absolutely. What we see here is a merger between those forces and the government itself. And of course, that's quite dangerous.
And Chris, I mean, tell me the advantage of all of those people being at the inauguration. What's the quid pro quo there?
Well, they've got a buzzword for it, and it's called hyper-partnered innovation. And it essentially means government clears out all the roadmap, the road ahead so that these tech companies can innovate as much as they can, as fast as they can. All these new emerging technologies, the governments have taken a big strategic interest in them. Think about AI, think about robots, surveillance, data collection, and stuff like that. These are things the governments are very, very interested in. And in order for the tech companies to do with them what they want to do, they have to have regulations that allow them to move forward and stuff. With AI, with space exploration, there was, Bezos and Musk there are in a war for the stars or whatever, and I heard Trump talk about a mission to Mars from the podium last night at the inauguration. And so this is the type of thing that they're talking about.
Hey, Jovian, what do you think Trump is signaling when he puts all of those CEOs front and center?
He's signaling that he's going to work very closely with them. I also would just agree with Chris's comments as well, and add to that the fact that information technology is being embedded in so many areas of our lives, and that also it's something that governments want to do for their own political reasons, as the previous commenter just commented. We're in a situation where essentially there's a new paradigm of government and tech connection. This is something that we see in China with apps like WeChat. There's a desire to create everything apps that do everything for us here. Eric Schmidt, the former CEO of Google, has also worked very closely with the Defense Department to advise the Defense Department on lowering civil liberties protections so that we can catch up with China in surveillance capitalism, because they're worried that by 2030, they're going to be far more advanced than we are.
Chris?
I was just going to say that, it seems like an emerging page out of like a cyberpunk novel or a sci-fi movie from back in the day, where big corporations control everything. They've got these shadowy alliances with governments that we don't quite understand. Tech and power kind of blur together, so you're not really sure which is which. It's a really interesting, future that we're staring at.
Elon Musk, of course, who now runs a government department, is being accused of making a fascist or a Nazi salute last night. During his speech, he put his palm to his chest and extended his arm out straight, did it again, turned around and did it again. Obviously, people will take away from it what they want. His supporters say it wasn't a Nazi salute, and people who don't like him say it is. He wrote on X afterward, frankly, they need better dirty tricks. The everyone is Hitler attack is so tired. Chris, what did you make of that moment?
I saw it. I haven't seen any commentary since then. I was wondering what the heck he was doing. It was weird the way he was flailing around up there, and it definitely looked like some sort of hit his chest, put his hand in the air twice. It looked deliberate, and I don't know. It creeped me out.
Jovian, for you, what did you make of it?
Nazi salute. I think that the Republican Party, the alt-right, the online right, the far-right online, these people have developed a modus operandi around doing edgy things and then backing away from the ownership of that when they're called out for it. I would just alert everybody to the significance of a figure named Curtis Yarvin. There's also an article in The Guardian from December 21st, 2024, on him, and he's somebody who actually has connections with Silicon Valley, and there's a movement that he's part of called the neo-reactionary movement, or the NRX movement, and this movement is openly fascist, has called for the end of democracy in the U.S. Yarvin himself describes himself as an American monarchist. He's somebody who's being brought in as an advisor to the Trump administration, and as somebody who advocates a blitz against all the institutions of liberal society. So the idea that we're going to be, subjected to Nazi salutes and then this kind of denial right away is part of that process. And I would just urge everybody to not fall for the B.S. of a particular group of people.
Chris, finally, last question to you. Is it dangerous for these already powerful and rich tech companies to be consolidating even more money and power?
It's a perfect setup, Stephen, because there's one more thing I wanted to talk about, which is Biden made a speech on his way out.
Yeah.
And he pretty much mirrored the Eisenhower military-industrial complex talk, and he talked about the rising tech industrial complex and the oligarchs of the Silicon Valley. And he said to be wary and to beware that, the world is changing in such a way that, to change it back might not be possible. He gave a very stern warning.
We're going to have to leave it there this morning. It's great to hear from both of you. Thank you so much. Jovian, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And Chris, great to see you as always.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you. Jovian Radeshwar is a professor of international relations and American politics at Douglas College. Chris Krug, of course, the founder of Future Proof Creatives, also our sandboxing column.